17.1, we go into the dominance of ESPN, and it asks a few questions going on with the risk factors and different forms of sports broadcasting measures that could be used to make the company more successful. So the article goes into ESPN being known as a very reputable organization for sports broadcasting, in which it ends up turning into facing a lot of challenges. The first question of the case study asks to identify the risk factors that confront the ESPN and rank how serious they are. So one of the serious risk factors that I would give a high serious ranking to is that a lot of companies and a lot of people are starting to cord cut due to many companies starting to eliminate their cable services due to how expensive they are. Mobile devices as well have become a risk factor that started to affect the ESPN, as many people have started to stream items from their phone or on social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, where they can get a live stream feed even quicker than they would just going on to log on to a website to look at what ESPN has to say. Audience fragmentation too has become a risk factor, as many people have started to go to different sports channels just because there's so many to choose from. Whichever one is on, people are all about convenience. They're not about just trying to stick to one brand. Technology emergences too, such as the DVR and the fast forward option known as the Hopper, put a lot of programs at risk too, because these advertising companies that once funded the sports broadcasting programs refuse to do so now, since their objects aren't being supported as they should. Question 2 goes into identifying one or more business activities that the ESPN currently engages in that it should either eliminate or modify. One of the factors, or one of the business activities that I think ESPN should reduce and get rid of is they should try and engage in reducing their bundling cost. As it goes into in the article, there's a lot of kind of congressional issues that are going on with it, and there's already trying to take legislative measures to modify the pricing structure. Many companies too will, it doesn't seem like it's the best decision for ESPN to completely sponsor Sports Center the whole time and show it all the time. Nothing seems more frustrating to a game watcher than to be watching the game and then Sports Center need to make its appearance and broadcast something that people just don't care about. Sports Center is definitely important in this case, but when it comes to ESPN just kind of throwing it out there and magnifying it so much because they know it's successful, I think that's a little bit too much of overkill and might irritate consumers more than benefit them. Question 3 is identify one or more business activities that the ESPN is currently not engaged in that it should adopt. It seems like ESPN should maybe try and do a sponsorship or partnership with Facebook and Twitter, and instead of the ads coming from like Google or Yahoo or Bing or some form of search platform, it should say something like Facebook ad sponsored by ESPN. People can go and see more, they can click, they can go to the ESPN site, they can see the different ways to possibly subscribe to ESPN, which should bring them in some more followers. The ESPN too would also benefit by reducing their costs or adding an extra incentive to those that are purchasing the bundling service. Something like free game tickets once a year, or like some different press release coverage that may not be shown by other Sports Center things. Those could be just 2 examples. Question 4 says, how should they argue against attempts by Congress to modify their pricing, structure, and bundling policies? If they wish to argue against the attempts by Congress, they need to listen to the case presented, but also try and come up with a strategy as to why they are as expensive as they are. The ESPN could argue that they have always dominated the sports broadcasting industry, or they could also go into possibly offering those different incentives to customers to entice them to join and entice them to come back for more. The ESPN could try and offer more differentiation too, and they could keep their pricing structure and bundling policies if the Congress believes that they have a valid reason to do so, which is why differentiation could try and bring in more people into the business. So those are the 4 questions that were asked for the discussion. I think that the article was very interesting to kind of read, as I've personally known that the ESPN's been highly dominating as far as working in a sports facility, seeing it all the time on the shows and everything. But I do think it's interesting, and I do think that the emergence of technology as well as the media rights that have started to open too, those have a really big factor on ESPN and could greatly influence them in the future. Okay, there is my case study argument. Thank you.